flood risk areas.
Thank you very much. That was Morgan Dover. She's a local councillor as well. Jasper Gerard joins us now. Jasper is the Liberal Democrat PPC for Maidstone, so he's standing for election, the next general election for the Liberal Democrats. Jasper Gerard, great to have you on the show. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
So as the leader of your party, the Deputy Prime Minister, speaking on behalf of the coalition government at the weekend, writing in the newspaper saying we need new cities. Do you agree with him? Let's just start with cities at all, wherever they end up. Would you welcome new garden cities in Britain?
There is, I think, a need for new garden cities. That is certainly true, and I think that was really the debate that Nick Clegg was trying to kick-start. In Maidstone alone, the Conservative Council is looking to build up to 19,600 houses. It is an absolutely staggering number. I was at a planning meeting in Maidstone until very late on Thursday night, where yet another development on the edge of Maidstone was pushed through by Conservative councillors against the wishes of everybody in the village. So there is a real problem here. There's massive demand for housing. People can't get on the housing ladder to actually buy a house until well into their 30s now. So there definitely is a need for more housing. But I have to say I'm completely and utterly opposed to the idea of a town being built in Yalding.
Well, that's specifically why I asked you to just answer the question about garden cities. Then we'll move on to Kent. Then we can get on to the issue of Yalding. Because I do wonder if Yalding might be a bit of a red herring here, given that the government themselves have made no mention of it and it's just been picked up by the Telegraph. So broadly speaking, garden city is a good idea. You agree with Nick Clegg that is a better idea than endlessly tagging on developments onto the edges of our existing villages?
If it's in the right place and if the infrastructure is there, somewhere like, for example, Milton Keynes was a very good idea. You're building that basically in arable, open countryside of not great aesthetic value or interest compared to a beautiful place such as Yalding. It's on the M1 motorway corridor. It's near to mainline train stations, whereas a village such as Yalding is nowhere near a motorway. It's on a small branch line. The infrastructure simply isn't there to support it. So yes, the principle of a garden city is a good idea, but whatever civil servant in Whitehall came up with the idea of Yalding, I suspect has probably never even set foot in Kent.
Where in Kent might it work?
Well, I think that we are going to be struggling in Kent. For example, in Yalding, quite apart from the flood issue, it's not a million miles from Maidstone. It's not even a million miles from Tunbridge. The danger is that you would simply have a big urban sprawl, creating effectively one sort of mega town. I think already Kent is very densely populated, and I'm
oh, come on, there are whole swathes. I mean, even Ted Shorter, who's opposed to it, writing in the Telegraph today, uses those words. There are swathes of open fields in Kent. The idea that we're all on top of each other, well, in some of the towns it's quite busy, but this is a big rural county, and we delude ourselves into thinking sometimes that we are, crammed in cheek by jowl. I mean, just drive from one end of the county to the other, and you can not see houses for mile upon mile upon mile, just endless fields.
But you have to bear in mind the natural constraints there are. So, for example, we have a large area of greenbelt countryside on the kind of the London side of Kent, which I think is regarded as some of the most beautiful countryside in Britain. I think there would be an outcry if you built there. We then have the Downs, which are an area of outstanding natural beauty, and then beyond that, really, you're talking about going really very far out towards coastal areas where there isn't the infrastructure to support it. I think one of the key points that Nick Clegg made is that it needs to be supported by the local community.
Yeah, but the trouble is, you know as well as I do, that anywhere you go and ask, I mean, that if that is the obligation is that everyone locally agrees, we're never going to build anything, because the human condition is not in my backyard. I don't want it. I don't want another development here. We'll never build any significant new developments if we allow every objector to have their way.
Well, some local communities might decide that they really do need the regeneration. I'm not, for example, saying that is definitely the case. But for example, in parts of the old the coastal towns, perhaps there might be an argument to say somewhere around there. We're short of jobs. We desperately need more jobs and more wealth created in our area. So it would be a good thing to have it here. So there might well be places that want it. But I just think to suggest putting it in somewhere like like Yalding, where it's already getting absolutely covered in development when it's completely unsuitable with the flooding and other infrastructure problems there. I think it can be completely ludicrous. And I've been in touch with ministers throughout the weekend about this, and they assure me that Yalding is not going to be developed. This is just simply an idea that's been floated to promote the idea of garden cities in general.
Floated being the operative word when it comes to Yalding, unfortunately.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's a ridiculous idea. I was obviously there a lot over the Christmas period with the floodings, and I mean, one of the things that really struck me about the absurdity of development there was a big placard advertising mobile homes for sale, saying plots available, and this massive sign, half of it was submerged underwater at the time. There was literally a caravan where you could barely see the roof of it.
Well, while we're on the subject of flooding, and I don't want it to turn into a whole hour about flooding, because that there's a time and a place, and we're going to try and talk about cities today. But just a quick thought, Jasper Gerard. Paul Carter, the leader of Kent County Council, recently admitted on the Sunday Politics that there is still a question mark over the operation of the live flood barrier over Christmas.
Yes.
Do you agree? Do you think there's still a question mark? Have you had all the questions answered that you want to have answered from the Environment Agency?
No, I've been repeatedly asking the Environment Agency for questions. In particular, I was asking why was there such a short warning, just about a 5-minute warning that was going to happen. Lots of people in Yalding refused to leave their homes because they were told, it's only an amber warning, it's not that serious. And I know that might sound blasé, but they're not exactly flood virgins, if I can use that phrase there. They're used to a lot of flooding, so they simply didn't think it was that serious. It was a miracle that nobody's life was lost. And I don't want to sort of have a complete go at the Environment Agency because they're just human beings. I'm sure they're trying to do their best.
But do you think they made a mistake? Do you think there's a question that the live flood barrier, that something went wrong, or there was some human error? Do you think that is a possibility?
I certainly do, yes. I don't want to say categorically that's the case because they simply haven't come back with a response yet, but I'm still all ears waiting to hear precisely why there was such a short warning when, it was all over the media, on Radio Kent and things for 2 or 3 days beforehand. There was warning about potential severe flooding. It doesn't take a genius, you would imagine, to think, oh, hang on, Yalding is potentially at risk.
Okay. Thank you. Really nice to talk to you this morning. Thank you for setting out your thoughts about garden cities as well. This is BBC Radio Kent. That was Jasper Gerard. He is the Liberal Democrats' prospective parliamentary candidate, so standing for the Liberal Democrats in the next general election for Maidstone. I'd like to hear from you this morning. A new city for Kent, a new start. Where would you put it? 03459 81